Famous Mummies. This mummy is a mummy of Guanajuato. These mummies were naturally mummified, and they became bodies during a cholera outbreak in 1833. Guanajuato became a famous town in Mexico when these mummies were found in the cemetery. These bodies were dumped into a mass grave around 1865 because people couldn't keep up on the excessive tax to keep their graves. When these bodies were found in the early 1900s, cemetery workers started charging people to see them, and it soon became a huge attraction. Now, the place has been turned into El Museo de las Momias, or the Museum of the Mummies. This one looks like it could have been in that screen painting, bro. Kinda looks like these people were made out of dusty burlap sacks, am I right, man? Tehran mummies. The mummy in this picture was discovered in the Tehran Basin, which is now Xinjiang, China. This mummy is believed to be of Indo-European descent. The oldest of the mummies found in this basin dated back to 1800 BCE. The mummies were first discovered by European explorers, such as Sven Hedin, as he was searching for antiquities in Central Asia at the start of the 20th century. Feeble humans, I mock your organic weakness. Long live the Ford. Princess Cooks, tattoos are cool. This ancient female mummy was found buried next to two warriors and had tattoos visible on her shoulder. She now resides in a mausoleum in Goro-Altesk. She's believed to be from the Pazik people, a nomadic people from the 5th century described by Herodotus. The cool thing about these tattoos is they're a lot like modern day tattoos and are extremely elaborate. Her remains were preserved, buried in the deep cold permafrost of the north until they were discovered by scientist Natalia Polosmak. Buried around her were horses, an escort, ornaments, gold, and containers of cannabis, which is why it's believed that she was some kind of princess. Dude, man, she's like ancient princess nomadic suicide girl. Mumia Juanita. The mummy in this photo is formerly known as the Ice Maiden. She is a mummy of an ancient Incan tribe. She was believed to be between the ages of 12 and 14. She was found in Peru in 1999 by anthropologist Johann Reinhardt. She's believed to have died around 1450 AD. She weighed around 80 pounds. They had an autopsy done on her, and it turns out that she was sacrificed. She had died from blunt force trauma to the head. It is believed that she was intended to be sacrificed for the mountain god Apus. You'll never know what you're going to find while you're ice climbing. I wouldn't be as happy as these guys if an old corpse had fallen on me while I was climbing. The Saltmen. The head in this picture was discovered in a salt mine in Iran. They found 6 of these salt men in the salt mines in Iran who were buried alive when one of the sections of the salt mine they were working on collapsed. The head in this picture is on display in the National Museum of Iran in Tehran. The Saltmen were believed to live about 1700 years ago. It was believed that they were people of the Achaemenid Dynasty. Oh, hey, toes ahead! Do you think he's a little salty about the situation? No? Fire mummies. These fire mummies, as they are referred to, were discovered in the Philippines in the early 20th century. The mummies are from periods between 1200 and 1500 AD. They are called fire mummies because they were given a salty drink after death and then smoked over a fire to dry out all the fluids of the body. Then they were placed in coffins made of pine wood. Yes, when I die, please roast me like a chestnut, and then put me in a box in a cave. Splendid, darling. Glad we got that ironed out. They kind of look like a lovely bunch of coconuts, don't they? This is a picture of Elmer McCurdy, who was found mummified. He had been shot by the police after robbing a train in Oklahoma. He was dubbed the bandit who wouldn't give up. This is a picture of his body as it was on display in a traveling circus from the 1920s all the way to the 1960s. Eventually, his body turned up at Pike Amusement Zone in California, where he was identified and finally got laid to rest. Yeah, I guess this guy really got embalmed. This human corpse resembles beef jerky. Ginger is one of the Gobelin pre-dynastic mummies. Ginger's on display in this picture at the British Museum. She is one of the oldest mummies in history and was well preserved by the dry sands of Egypt. She was naturally mummified, as Egyptians were not practicing mummification at this time. Most notably, Ginger went on display in 1901 and was the earliest mummy that the public was ever allowed to see. Oh yes, Dead People for Knowledge. It's actually my charity group. Otzi. This guy is commonly referred to as the Iceman. It's like Val Kilmer in the plane movie. The Iceman was an incredibly well-preserved natural mummy of a guy who lived in 3300 BCE. Scientists found this little guy in the Alps in 1991. He is the oldest mummy ever found in Europe. His body is now on display in the Museum of Archaeology in South Tyrol, Italy. An autopsy report stated that several of his ribs were broken and fractured, and it is believed that he was crushed by an avalanche while hiking this mountain pass. Yes, that was a bad day to go rock climbing. Dude, guys like really chilled out. Guancho mummies. This guy was found in the Canary Islands. This mummy and his friends were believed to be mummified in the 15th century, before Spanish rule. They found caverns of these mummies, some containing over 1,000. Unfortunately, a lot of these caverns were looted, and the mummies don't exist anymore because of the popularity of mummia, which is a supposed pharmaceutical created out of mummy dust. It is believed that in this culture, only upper-class citizens were mummified. Oh yeah, the mummy powder has a great for arthritis. It really loosens up those bones. Dude, man, I bet that dust gets you messed up, bro. This is the mummy of Hatshepsut, a female pharaoh who was once a king and the queen of Egypt over 3,500 years ago. She was kind of a bearded cross-dresser. She was found buried in the Valley of the Kings, and she sat unidentified by researchers for almost a century, until someone matched a molar with her name inscribed upon it with a missing spot in her own jaw. Darling, maybe you should get that goatee waxed. King Tut. This is a picture of the mummy inside of King Tut's famous coffin. He was known as the Boy Pharaoh, and his tomb was discovered in 1922. This mummy is over 3,300 years old, and is considered to be one of the most important archaeological finds of our time. When they found this mummy, some were very worried about the curse of the pharaohs. And they were also worried about his cause of death, as King Tut died very young. Dude, only the good die young, bro. Ramses II. This is the mummy of Ramses II, widely regarded as the most influential pharaoh of all time. He was found in the Valley of Kings and remained there until 1881. That's around the time they started moving him around to thwart looters. He got flown to France in 1974 to get treated for a fungal infection, and even had his own passport. Dude, Ramses looks like my history teacher in third period, man. Thanks for watching.